This is a Baitcaster outfit. It's an outfit that is a very, very efficient piece of fishing equipment, but it's also one that is very daunting for a lot of people who first try and learn them. There are some difficulties in learning how to cast it, but once we get the basics sorted out, you'll be home and hosed. First thing we need to do with all of our casting is we want to control our grip. And for the purposes of this rod actually has a trigger that's designed so that I can put my index finger around it. It allows me then to rest my thumb on the spool, which is how I'm going to manage the line as it comes off during the casting process. It also has an activation button which disengages the spool, which allows the line to come off. So for the purposes of casting this outfit, this is the best grip. Setup involves disengaging the reel so you're ready to cast, and assessing your drop, which is the distance between your casting weight and the rod tip. With all casting, if you want to cast accurately, that weight needs to be close to the tip. If you want to cast distance, it needs to be longer. The other important part with setup is controlling this braking system on a baitcaster reel. All baitcasters have them. In this reel here, it's a little knob on the side. Some have a larger knob on the opposite side. It doesn't really matter where it is. What it does is it applies centrifugal force or magnetic braking to the spinning of the spool. And what it does is it slows the spool down mechanically. There's a couple of things that you need to remember there though. If you increase the braking, it's going to reduce your casting distance potential. If you decrease the braking, it will increase your casting distance potential, but also introduce the potential for tangles, which is called a backlash. And a backlash, I'm just going to demonstrate for you. Backlash is when the spool continues to spin after the casting weight has hit the water. This is what gives most people problems when they cast the Baitcaster. When I disengage the spool, the line should just come off as I bounce the rod. That is going to help you cast and reduce your risk of backlashes. Okay, now we're ready to cast. First thing I want to do is get my grip right. I've got my finger on the trigger, got my thumb on the spool, and I have the reel kicked out to the side. For my setup, I'm happy with the drop. That's the sufficient distance between the rod tip for the distance cast I want to make. And now I'll disengage the spool. My thumb is holding the line in place now, and I can ready to set myself for a cast. To cast in a straight line, I need to make the rod travel in a straight line, and I'll do that by pointing out to the area I want to cast. Bring the rod back directly over my shoulder, and I have my wrist open so that there's a gap between the rod butt and my wrist. And to cast, I'm going to close my wrist and roll my forearm forward. So I'm going to hold it open like that, 90 degrees to the ground. I'm just going to close my wrist and push my forearm down. I'm not going to use a lot of force, because if I use a lot of force, that's going to make the cast begin to accelerate really quickly, and if it slows down too quickly, I'll get a backlash. So 90 degrees to the ground, just gently push the rod forward, slow it down with my thumb, and that's a cast.